Hey D&D YouTubers, welcome back. My name is Dr. DM, and we're here for part 2 of the Unearthed Arcana Expert Class new playtest material that just dropped. Previously, we looked at the Expert Classes as a whole, the new kind of classifications they have for the different groups, warriors and priests, and so forth, and in this case, experts. And now we're going to take a look at, oh, and also Bard. Now we're going to take a look at Ranger, which is in the same category as Bard and then UA. And let's just get right into it, see what we think, see what's changed, what's better, what's worse, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. So, Ranger, what do we got here? All right, so it is in the expert group, as we talked about. That just means that the expertise feat works in tandem with all those in that group. So, expertise for Ranger, expertise for Bard, and expertise for Rogue. The primary ability is Dex and Wisdom. You need a 13 on that, is what they decided to be able to multi-class in and out. And you should probably, put your point to that because it's just the best for the class. So Ranger's probably going to focus on dexterity, whether that's bows or finesse weapons, and Wisdom for their spellcasting, which has changed a little bit. What are Rangers? So they go out in the wilderness, they track monsters, they do their thing. So let's get into creating a Ranger. What do we got here? First, armor training. Armor proficiency is no longer a thing. Now it's armor training. What does that mean? That means whatever, just like before, if you have armor training in light, medium, or heavy, you can equip those armors without penalties. So multi-class in the Ranger. Multi-classing has changed a bit now. We'll see what each individual class gets for that. They have a D10, that's the same, plus con. The proficiencies are strength and dexterity. And the skills are athletics, stealth, and survival. Or choose 3 from within this group. Bard, as we saw, could choose 3 from any category. They were given 3 options, but then could decide to choose 3 on a whim. Here, you do have to say between around the boundaries of Ranger-like behavior, right? Okay, so that's fine. Rangers, what do we got here? Proficiency bonus stays the same. They have expertise now, favorite enemy, and spellcasting. Spellcasting now begins at level 1 instead of level 2, so maybe better for a dip. We'll see. And you do get cantrips now, which is interesting because Ranger did not get cantrips before. I'm wondering if there's any decent cantrips for Rangers besides your typical green flame blade or offensive option. So maybe we can look at the list down below. And again, spells right away at first level, so you don't have to wait until second level to really understand what a Ranger is and how the spellcasting works. If you want to play a Ranger, you have that primal magic already ready to go. Fighting style, which is now Feats, a feat as well, in your subclass at 3rd level. Yeah, like I mentioned in the previous video, it looks like they're all going to be 3rd level now for the subclass. So, all right, we'll get into these as we see it below. But that's the big stuff. Weapons, simple weapons, martial weapons. Okay, no tools. Got light armor, medium armor, not heavy, and shields. Starting equipment, I mentioned this before. You have your possibilities here, or you can forego that and choose 150 GP and buy equipment of your choice, which I much more recommend for you as a DM and to give to your players, because that just allows for a lot of diversity and character building. You don't want to be, do I have to run the short sword and scimitar? No, maybe I'm a ranger who uses a big great axe because you just want to. You were a logger, right? You were whatever. And so now this is what you want to choose. This is what you want to buy. Use your money. Work with your DM, make that cool character of your choosing. Okay, multiclassing and the Ranger. Multiclass, 13, and your primary ability is Dex and Wisdom. So both 13, be able to multiclass in or out. Interesting. Proficiencies gained. Now you do get some abilities, some stuff now by multiclassing in. If your Ranger's not your initial class, you get martial weapons and 1 skill of your choice from Ranger's skill list. So there's still a lot of incentive to multi-class into other classes, even if they don't have as much to be up front, especially losing, some of the classes had 1st level subclasses. Okay, when you get your 1st level Ranger, you get all these trainings. You get your spells, which are all prepared individually. Okay, features. Let's see what we got here. Expertise. Ranger did not have that before. Now they do. Now Rangers are part of the experts group, so they are the skill, pros. If you need somebody to do more things or do some specific things really well, such as stealth and survival. Favorite enemy. This has changed substantially. Before it was you chose, I want to kill all the undead because the undead raided my village and killed my parents and whatever. And now I have this, I'm vindictive against undead. So there's the ones that are my favorite enemies, and they're the ones I want to do more damage to. The problem with that, of course, is like, are we even going to see undead in this campaign? I'd have to talk to my DM, and he'll say, okay, there's going to be some undead, but there's also going to be a lot of like goblins, or there's going to be a lot of devils, or there's going to be a lot of whatever. So how to know what to choose, especially if your campaign is long and ongoing, or is in a specific scenario, like you're in Icewind Dale, right? Maybe there's nothing there that is your favorite enemy, right? Maybe it's all, you decide to choose like a Feats and all fire enemies, and you're going up to the Iceland. So not Iceland, but the land of ice. And yeah, so having favorite enemy just be, here it is. You're up to focusing your eye on a single foe. This is so much better. You always have the Hunter's Mark spell prepared. Your ability now is basically Hunter's Mark as a spell-like ability. Doesn't count against number of spells prepared, and you don't have to concentrate. Lasts a full duration, and you can just cast it as a bonus action, and boom, there you go. This enemy dies. Now this enemy is my favorite enemy, right? And this one's my favorite enemy. So you're all favorite enemies. I think this is a huge positive change. Having to try to metagame your way towards what am I going to fight, this particular campaign was silly. So fantastic change. This will make Rangers pretty strong because every time they hit, the extra D6 damage, or if it's upcasted or whatever, boom, extra damage. They're really going in. I mean, for an expert class, this is going to be a good damage dealing class. I think before, I'd say the Ranger was kind of more like I said, like a damage dealer, like a warrior type. But given that they have some spell casting and they really want to, I think that probably division, they want to do 3 of each category, and just to divide them up, they fit best in the expert category. They are an expert of like stealth and survival. Okay, that's fine. So spells, they give you some options of things to prepare right there. Like recommend, go ahead and just prepare these spells for new players. It's good to have a list of just, okay, this is simple enough. I just started playing D&D. These look good. They're going to serve me in multiple situations, so let's go with it. And then if you don't want to, you've been around the block a few times, D&D, choose whatever the hell you want. So, okay, they are primal spellcasters. But here's an interesting caveat, and I've not seen this anywhere else yet. It can be from any school of magic except evocation or evocation. What does this mean? Well, it means that you can't choose like Fireball. Not that druids get Fireball, but you can't choose like a overt damage dealing spell as a ranger, which means that you have to focus on either utility, such as, the vine growth and the slow enemies down, or focus on your weapons in that case. So I kind of like that. You can't just do everything on every class. So I like having those restrictions in the character, and then if you want to, relieve yourself of those restrictions, try multi-classing or figure out some other alternative of how you want to play this class. So that's fine with me. Okay, long rest for refreshing your spells, primal spells, spell slots you saw above. Oh, I will mention they're still a half caster, quote unquote, as in they don't go all the way to like 9th level. So yeah, it's still a good utility boon for your ranger. And someone who maybe doesn't want to have, 50 spells worth of abilities at higher levels, worth of, I have 2 of these and 2 of these and 3 of these and 5 of these, and suddenly your spell list is, your spell cards are all throughout the table and they're going over the next player's side. And okay, you have your martial class here that's also an expert but can spell cast enough to get you by. Wisdom is your spell casting as it was before, so that'll be influence your spell save DC, your 2 hits, and so forth. So do that. Dex and Wisdom. If you want to be a strength in Wisdom, you can do that too. Might not be easy to multi-class, but hey, there you go. So fighting style. 2nd level fighting style. Now, fighting style isn't just a thing you choose from a list. Now it is a feat of your choice within these categories here. Archery, defense, and 2-weapon fighting. Now, remember, they mentioned earlier in the previous video when I kind of went and did the overview of expert classes and the groups in general, the fighting style feats might open up because you might have some feats that are specific for expert classes or for warrior classes. So even though there's only 4 here, more might show up, like Tunnel Fighter or Mariner or whatever. Those might show up later. and you gain this feat at later levels. Fighting style feats are among your options, even though you are a member of the warrior group. Okay, it's good. Here, a little bit of cross dipping here, right? So it's a hybrid option. I like that. Third level, you get your ranger subclass, which I think is hunter in this case, and we'll look at that just in a minute. You got your feat at fourth level, and again, that's ASI or a feat of your choice. Extra attack. You can attack twice when you take the attack action in your turn. Subclass feature, roving. Your speed increases by 10 feet when you are not wearing heavy armor. Climb speed and swim speed equal to your speed. Interesting. I do not think that was there before. I think you just had a conclave feature. Yeah, favorite enemy. This is pretty cool. This roving is new. It might have a little bit of a land stride, I think, in there. So previously land stride was when you went through difficult terrain. It didn't affect you as much, and that could be like entangle and other spells. So here, this is pretty cool. I like that new ability, especially getting a climb and swim. You're not so affixed to having to choose a race, that can swim, like a Triton or something like that. So rangers can do it all. That's very cool. Feat, expertise, some more expertise, just like Bard. Subclass feature, tireless. Okay. Primal forces now help you fuel your journeys, granting you the following benefits. Temporary hit points. When you finish a short rest or long rest, you can gain 10 hit points equal to 1d8 plus proficiency bonus. By 11th level, I wouldn't say that's huge, but it's a little bit. Decreased exhaustion. If you're exhausted when you finish a short rest, your level of exhaustion decreases by 1. This is kind of insane because if you think about it, decreasing exhaustion is a very hard thing to do. It required either long rest or like a great restoration spell or a wish spell, I suppose. So being able to do this, like imagine if you are like a multi-class with Barbarian who's taken like I think it's Zealot or whatever, where you did this, you got really awesome bonuses, as in you could use your bonus action to do a full attack, but you would get like 2 levels of exhaustion at the end, so you can cut that down. Really cool. Or if you're somewhere where you're really having to trek through the wilderness and exhaustion is a key part of your campaign, play a ranger because that doesn't matter to you anymore. And okay, feat, Nature's Veil at 13th. As a bonus action, you can spend a spell slot become invisible. Well, that's pretty interesting because you could do that after you attack. Boom, invisibility, attack. It's kind of insane, actually. And I think before, like Wood Elves had these. Obviously, they had hide in plain sight where you could do, you could jump in and do like a stealth check kind of thing, and do the, that Predator shit where you Arnold jumps into the river of mud to conceal himself from the predator. Here, it's really just invisibility. Thematically, it's not as cool as, jumping into this brush or camouflaging yourself and whatever it is. But this is so much more useful. Invisibility, it can even be used mid-combat. So before, hide in plain sight would have to be like a ambush kind of thing, which who knows how much you get out of this. Here, invisibility, which you can also use to ambush, is available all the time in and out of combat. You're going to see some really, really, really cool uses out of this from your players. I love that. Subclass, Feral Senses. You gain Blind Sight. That's really awesome. And I think you got this later at like 18th level, where it didn't necessarily say Blind Sight, but it was kind of along the same veins. And I will mention, going back to Nature's Veil real quick, you did get Vanish, which lets you, you could be tracked by magical means, but it didn't say invisible. So your DM could kind of say that Vanish was invisibility, but it wasn't specifically. So I like that Nature's Veil is taking the best of Vanish and the original Nature's Veil and made it something mechanically works and it's easy to get your head around. Like, okay, I'm invisible. Here's what it does. Here's what I can do. I get advantage. Whatever. So much better. Foe Slayer, 18th level feat, originally was a 20th level. Your Hunter's Mark now deals D10 rather than D6. So, okay, I would say this is a pretty pathetic capstone ability for Ranger, but, who knows, first of all, how many people are actually getting to 20th level. And in that regard, you have other things to look forward to because you have 19th and 20th level abilities as well. And, yeah, it wasn't too different than how it was before with Foe Slayer. I think you had your proficiency bonus or whatever. Okay, it's fine. More damage is more damage. Can't complain. Now we'll get to the spells. All right, long rest. And here's something that I saw as well. We'll see this in, I think, see it in Bard. Either way, we'll see it going forward. Anything, a spell marked with a dagger here is always prepared. So you can't replace that. So Hunter's Mark, because it's like a ability feature for the class. It's kind of baked into your spells and spell slots. Here's your recommended spells. Again, do whatever you want. And the list of spells is below in this document. So mostly everything's in there. There's some missing, and some of the UA stuff isn't there or didn't make it. So that's the spells. Now, subclass. We have the Hunter. There was the Hunter Conclave before, where you were, you hunted down creatures of your choice. You were a monster hunter, basically. And what do we do? At 3rd level, which is when you get the subclass, you get Hunter's Prey. What do you get here? When you hit a creature with a weapon or unarmed strike, as part of attack action, the weapon or unarmed strike deals an extra 1d8 points of damage if the creature is missing hit points. So it's kind of like a Colossus Slayer in a way from the previous Ranger. And you can take this extra damage once per turn. So, okay, that's about the same. Not much utility here. This is just kind of like a extra damage class, which, okay, you stack damage. Now you can stack damage with Hunter's Mark, so you're really beefing up your damage a lot if you go this route. You have the extra d6 plus d8 per attack. Now, it's not every attack, but still, I mean, it's a lot of dice every turn. It's pretty cool. Hunter's Lore is not something they had before. You call the force of nature, reveal strength and weaknesses of your prey. Well, when a creature that is marked by Hunter's Mark, it uses Hunter's Lore ability, you know its immunities, resistance, and vulnerabilities. I mean, okay. You just have, the DM serve has to tell you, all right, this skeleton is vulnerable to fire, so if you attack it, you do double damage. It's a little metagamey. I suppose that I'm not sure how you would kind of divine this, just without, like, just suddenly use a bonus action to mark this target, and suddenly you know it's resistant to psychic damage or whatever. Maybe, I'm not sure. It's metagamey. It's really busted, very powerful. I can't imagine this gets to release like this, because it's literally like, okay, I know everything about this creature, even if it's a creature that your DM has made from scratch. Immediately, you've just kind of defeated its strengths, right, by exploiting its vulnerabilities. And yeah, okay, vulnerability isn't a thing that comes into play that much in Dungeons and Dragons. There's not that much vulnerability, but immunities and resistances, that could come into play. And suddenly, if you know it, I mean, you know the rest of the party's knowing it, and now forevermore, this creature has kind of been reduced to kind of numbers and stats. So super busted. I don't love it just because there's not a ton of flavor here, but go for it if you want to kick a bunch of butt, and then just have weapons and spells on you of like every single type, and just have a bludgeoning and a piercing and that's what I mean. There's a little metagaming. So 10th level, multi-attack. You can now conjure barrage as a prepared spell. Doesn't count against your spells, and you can cast the spell conjure barrage with the 1st and 2nd level spell slots. So you're kind of like downcasting the spell, and that's something I mentioned. They talked about this in the video too. Jeremy Crawford said you can, I'm not sure if you can always do it, but now you can kind of like downcast instead of upcast spells, which is cool, because if you're kind of low on resources and you really need to get this magic missile to go off or whatever, and you just want to cast it, magic missile is like 1st level spell, but you get what I'm saying. It's a last ditch effort, or you really need this ability to go off. You really got to heal this person. Being able to downcast, it's pretty cool. So even if it's weaker, and in a way, a really good way to manipulate your spells and spell slots to get the most out of them, especially for classes that have less of them, such as the Ranger. Pretty cool. I don't know if it's for everything here. Just it specifically mentions Conjure Barrage, but I know they talked about it as a possibility of something to do. So we'll see if it shows up in the rules somewhere going forward. And finally, Superior Hunter's Defense. This is before 15th level ability. When you're hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to have the attack damage, something that rogues get innately. And I think this previously had more things like evasion, stand against the tide, and canny dodge. So some of that's been kept. So they've got some interesting things, some things that have been nerfed or buffed. Either way, this has been Ranger. Now for the new UA, leave your comments down below. Give them some feedback for the playtest. I'm not sure. Some of these things are pretty funky, but overall, Ranger's got a huge buff. A lot of things that are much more potent now. I know Ranger suffered a lot. Bard kind of did too, as in people wouldn't really always play the class because it had a bit of a stigma, especially when it was first released. It was pretty mediocre, pretty mid, if not whatever's below mid. So that's been Ranger. I did a video for Bard, breaking that down for you. I'm about to do a video for Rogue as well, and Rogue's pretty sick now too. Not too much has changed, but got some good stuff there. So, all right, thank you for watching. See you next time.